Hello everyone, welcome to In the Trenches, Kroll's weekly cyber threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 28th of April and my name is George Glass, an Associate Managing Director in the Cyber Threat Intelligence team. Joining me today from the team is Ryan Hicks and Dave Truman. As always, we'll be covering the most recent trends our cyber threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. So without any further ado, let's get into the situation report. We've got lots of vulnerabilities to cover this week. First of all, we have a POC exploit that's been released for the Erlang CVSS 10 vulnerability. That vulnerability allows an attacker with network access to Erlang or OTP SSH servers to execute arbitrary code without authentication. The vulnerability is tracked as CVE 2025-32433 and has an estimated CVSS value of 10, the maximum. Since the advisory, a POC script has appeared on the open web and it's being discussed in underground forums, making exploitation likely to commence in the very short term. Next up is a vulnerability that was patched in the March patch cycle. This affects NTLM and is tracked as CVE 2025-24054. This is a hash disclosure via spoofing vulnerability, and according to Checkpoint, around March 20th to 21st, a campaign targeted government and private institutions in Poland and Romania. Attackers used malspam to distribute a Dropbox link containing an archive that exploited multiple known vulnerabilities, including CVE 2025-24054. All of that to harvest NTLM v2 SSP hashes. So yeah, two vulnerabilities to ensure that you are patched against there. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, please get in touch with us using cti@kroll.com. So let's get to the rest of today's briefing. I have two more vulnerabilities to cover today. That's exploitation of both SAP NetWeaver and FortiGate devices. Ryan will be discussing our research on a supply chain attack affecting PDFast, and Dave will be talking about APT29's newest phishing campaign. So let's talk about the SAP NetWeaver critical vulnerability. ReliaQuest has discovered a critical vulnerability in SAP NetWeaver, and this is designated CVE 2025-31324, which permits unauthorized file uploads via a deprecated Visual Composer component. The report confirms exploitation in the wild, stating that threat actors have exploited the vulnerability by uploading a malicious JSP web shell to publicly accessible directories, enabling remote code execution. They've also detailed post-exploitation activities, including the deployment of BruteRetel C2 framework and the utilization of Heaven's Gate, that technique, to bypass security measures. The exploitation does appear to be widespread. SAP has confirmed the vulnerability and released an out-of-band patch last week. So the recommendations on this is update as soon as possible and mitigate according to the SAP advisory. The advisory link that we link to in our report does require a login. Also, if you believe that you are affected by this, consider a compromise assessment if that part of the application is exposed. Next up, this continues our coverage of the exploitation of FortiGate devices. Following our ongoing reporting, and that's also reporting in open source as well, regarding the exploitation of historic vulnerabilities that affected FortiOS. Those are CVE 2022-42475, CVE 2023-27997, and CVE 2024-21762, which were used to create a persistence mechanism on the appliance, which was previously unknown to Fortinet. Additional information has been shared regarding the attacks that have allegedly impacted 22,000 devices. Just a reminder on the Fortinet statement, they say the targeting of known unpatched vulnerabilities by a threat actor is not new and has been previously examined. This specific finding is the result of a threat actor taking advantage of a known vulnerability with a new technique to maintain read-only access to vulnerable FortiGate devices after the original access vector was locked down. OnFi, an external attack surface monitoring provider, has released additional information which indicates that 22,000 devices were impacted by the Symlink backdoor. And that's the graph that you can see on the right-hand side there. It shows a fairly wide distribution of affected countries. Those are the top 10. Kroll has obtained the capability from OnFi to remotely detect impact devices and has begun making proactive sweeps of IP space. And because Fortinet is such a key target for attackers, it is absolutely imperative that these vulnerabilities are patched and that the device is kept up to date. We recommend continued awareness around all FortiOS devices. We're recommending that you reach out to your Kroll contact to arrange for an investigative sweep of your Fortinet devices. We'll just need your IP space that those devices are attached to. And if you are impacted, again, consider a compromise assessment. And that's it for me today. I will hand over to Ryan.
Hey, George. Hi, everyone. So yeah, beginning in early April this year, we observed a large wave of malicious activity surrounding PDFast software, which is a tool claiming to be a PDF converter. Initial access for the campaign appeared to be either through a new install of the application through drive-by compromise on the site pdf-fast.com, which is the screenshot on the right there, or via pre-installed versions of the application that have since been updated. In each case, the malicious updater file was executed via scheduled task, and that is set up during initial installation, and that executes several PowerShell commands. The first of which attempts to download a binary from a C2 domain. That downloaded file is saved locally as file.bin, which is shown on the bottom there. Another PowerShell is executed that will run or read that binary, and write it as an executable file named pdf.exe. So the malware analysis team looked into this file. So the report goes into a bit more detail on their findings. Just to touch on a few points here. Firstly, it uses the rand function to generate a secondary payload name using its resource size, and this creates a file named similarly to what you see in that second bullet point there. After this, there's also a call to sleep, making the malware essentially kind of hang for 30 seconds. In the meantime, that system file is written to the temp folder, executed, and then deleted after that 30 seconds is passed. The new file, which is our system file, is a PyArmor wrapped executable, and that executes Python or PowerShell content. Initial capabilities show the indication of some sort of defensive technologies, as well as some anti-VM awareness, and a few of those commands are shown in that bottom screenshot there. The team are continuing to analyze that particular file, so we'll provide any updates, relevant updates as necessary through that analysis. And then lastly, looking at the sectors impacted by the campaign, so largely affecting healthcare, as seen on the right. However, at the time of writing, the reports and the campaign so far, there's no real evidence to suggest any particular direct targeting towards healthcare or those top sectors, likely coincidental, and that's due to the fact that this is really drive-by compromise being the initial access. So there are some IOCs listed in the report, and a few recommendations just to mention here. Really, firstly, to remove installations of PDFast if they are still on the system, and also recommend blocking connections to the two domains that are listed in the report. One of those was in the screenshot before. There were two domains that we saw being connected and downloading that first stage payload, as well as, of course, user awareness for kind of looking out for these kind of, particularly the PDF converter type tools, making sure they're installed from a verified source within the IT section. And that's all for me. Hand back to you, George.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And now we'll go to Dave for some APT activity. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you. From January 2025, Checkpoint Research observed a phishing campaign targeting European governments and diplomats with TTPs that aligned to KTA 014, aka APT 29. Checkpoint believes the group is behind the phishing campaign impersonating a major European Ministry of Foreign Affairs to send out fake invitations to wine tasting events. Clicking on the link contained within the email will download a zip file called wine.zip containing 3 files, the PowerPoint executable renamed as wine.exe and 2 DLL files. AppV LSV subsystems 64 DLL containing junk code. This is a DLL that's required by PowerPoint, and ppcore.dll containing the malicious GRAPELOADER code for sideloading. GRAPELOADER copies itself to users' app data local directory under the folder name PowerPNT. It then sets up a registry run key under the same name. Once persistence is established, the malware starts its command and control activity, establishing an infinite loop with beaconing every 60 seconds. It also collects information about the system, such as username, computer name, process name, and process ID, which it sends via an HTTPS post request. The malware waits to receive memory-independent shellcode from the C2 server. The malware uses a known technique to evade antivirus memory scanning. Essentially, it loads the shellcode into memory and sets the memory to unreadable before creating a pause thread pointing to that location. It wastes some time to allow the antivirus software to attempt and fail to read the area. It then sets the area to read, write an executable and unpauses the thread. As part of the campaign, a new version of WineLoader was discovered. This version has increased anti-analysis capabilities, including junk code insertion, code mutation, and obfuscation improvements. This campaign shows an ongoing process of refinement undertaken by the group, building on previous campaigns with malware updates and improvements. User education is vital protection here, as the user is required to click the link, extract the zip file, and execute the exe file. Combining this with a good EDR and perimeter security protections, such as email scanning, is also recommended. Thank you. George?
Thank you very much, Dave, and thank you to Ryan for also presenting. That's all we have for this week. If you have any questions or comments, please do reach out to us using cti@kroll.com. That's cti@kroll.com. Have a wonderful day.